Good morning, Doctor. Welcome back.
Good morning, Venkatesh. Nice to be back.
Thank you. So I'll just set up the topic. Our topic
Yeah,
for today is be a good follower. And the reason it's
right.
part of our series on wellness is that very often either following good rules or a good role model in our life is not quite as easy as it sounds. Very often we end up, sort of not being good followers. We end up sort of being indisciplined and not doing what needs to be done to be an intelligent and constructive follower. And that's why we're going to talk about it in our wellness. Yes. Over to you, Doctor.
Yeah, thank you, Venkatesh. Now, when we come across any person with a good personality and good grooming and well articulated and so forth, we say this person has a good leadership quality. Now, the word that automatically comes to our mind is leadership.
Right.
So followership is a word that not too many people appreciate or understand. But
Right.
then we will see how the leadership and followership qualities merge.
Right.
Okay. In fact, there could be two sides of the same coin, but it is very important to understand the importance in terms of ability to follow.
Correct.
Because there you have to swallow your ego, which we will see now,
Absolutely.
and yeah. So this is where we can see that in history and even otherwise, hmm, great leaders start off as great followers.
Correct.
You take any person, even right from Bhagavad Gita, Shri Krishna, Arjuna, and all that, or Jesus Christ, and so forth. So at some point in time or the other, these personalities started off as followers,
Correct.
and they sort of metamorphosed into leaders and so forth. So
Yeah.
leadership and uh, followership
Correct.
follow the same pattern, but with
Correct.
subtle differences, which you will see. Yeah.
Correct. Correct.
Yeah. Next slide, please. Now,
Yes.
this quadrangle that you see here may look very formidable,
Right.
but it is not that formidable.
Yes.
If you are a psychologist and if you are in HR department of a company, or if you are just dealing with other persons, yeah,
Right.
the qualities which you imbibe and which you sort of encourage and flourish,
Correct.
and in that process, there are varieties of followership, just as there are varieties of leadership.
Right.
Yeah, again, followership is a less used term, and it has equal importance. If you
Correct.
see this quadrant, you see there are followers of various types. They come in
Correct.
various sizes and shapes. You
Correct.
know, they are alienated personalities. There are exemplary personalities, and pragmatist followers, and passive followers, and so forth.
Correct.
Now, this you can see if you observe any person in your own immediate circle, you can
Right.
see one another of any of these qualities, and
Right.
these qualities go to make a follower, which will eventually go to make a leader. So
Right.
this they said leadership, followership precedes leadership,
Correct.
and leadership follows for followership.
Correct.
So that is how the thing goes. Any comments, Venkatesh?
Yes. No, I think an important, absolutely, like you said, there are different ways of being a follower. Very important point I think this slide is making, we need to bring out, is being a good follower doesn't mean being either passive or not having your own thinking.
Right.
You need to both be active. Following doesn't mean being passive, and following does not mean that you don't have your independent thought. So pragmatic followers, or as we discussed in a few sessions back, they blend the ability to keep their independent thinking but still be ready to follow, and also they are ready to both be active and ready to follow, and that is actually the best blend in a manner, as you think about being a follower. Yeah.
Yeah. If you simplify this quadrangle, there are two major categories that evolve.
Right.
One is an individual with his own individuality. The other
Correct.
one, individual without strong individuality.
Correct.
So either you're a strong thinker or not a strong thinker. So you
Correct.
can pull it down to two major categories.
And
exemplary.
active and passive. The other two categories are active people and passive.
Correct. Like any other aspect of personalities and persons and behaviors in the open general arena, you
Right.
know, you are active and you are passive. There is
Right.
not much of in between, but
Correct.
it doesn't matter. We are not appearing for some BA examination or something, but instinctively we will know that so and so is a good uh, follower,
Right.
just like you, good thinker, good leader, and so and so is not.
Right.
And most of them we tend to prefer, active persons, but
Correct.
not too active so as to threaten one's standing in the environment. So
Correct.
if you've got a follower who is too active, then you feel insecure, and that's a different element in PR, and HR. We will see
Right.
that later. But by and large, it is either you're an active follower or a passive follower.
Right.
Yeah. Next slide, please.
Yeah.
Now here you see a father and a son
Right.
walking along the road, and you see the body language of the fellows there. The son, the younger son, is more dynamic and more aggressive, and the father, who is diminutive in frame, is sort of being bled.
Right.
Father can be led depending upon the energy level and the circumstance.
Correct.
So this kind of a followership is to be understood, and
Right.
it may or may not last. There are various phases of life where
Correct.
one kind of followership leads. Yeah. Any comment, Venkatesh?
No, very good point that being a leader and being a follower are not permanent things. They are roles you play at different times. In
Right.
much of the life, the father is the leader and the son is the follower. A time may come when, for physical reasons or other reasons, the son may have to lead, the father may have to follow. And one should be equally comfortable with both. They are roles that one plays in different parts of life. Beautiful. Good example. Yes.
Right. Thank you. Now, here is a Sanskrit quotation, sort of, if you like.
Right.
In some of the ancient scriptures, there are expressions like this: Yatha Raja, Tatha Praja. Yatha
Right.
Raja means like the king, Tatha Praja, so is the follower.
Yeah.
This is a sort of, again, distilling the criteria of the father-son or leadership
King
relationship.
and subjects. Correct.
Yeah. So basically, it is said that in the days of monarchy or in the days of leadership, strong leadership, people tend to emulate or follow the follower. So people,
The leader. Yeah.
strong, individual is strong. One doesn't try to normally outsmart the leader. But
Right.
Venkatesh mentioned just now, it happens from time to time, and it is important. You have to be like a Raja behavior, and you have to be like a Praja behavior. By and large, Yatha Raja, Tatha Praja. But this
Right.
will change. If you're a thinking Praja, then you may overthink the Raja, and so forth.
Correct.
But this has to be understood in a very mature sense.
Correct.
Otherwise there will be conflict between the two generations, the father
Between
and
two
son.
generations, or between leaders and followers, or between management and the managed, all of them are good examples of the same thing. Correct.
Right. So here you see another example of Adi Shankaracharya.
Doctor, could you slightly move back? I think now you're too far in front. The top. Yes, that's perfect. Thank you.
Okay, yeah, thank you. So here is the case of Adi Shankaracharya
Correct.
sitting with his disciples, and there are 4 or 5 disciples, and Adi Shankaracharya is preaching to them. He's giving them a sermon,
Correct.
and he is laying down the fundamentals of a leadership, a followership relationship.
Correct.
And here, by and large, as history said, Adi Shankaracharya's dicta, wordings or whatever, will be sort of obeyed in a very unqualified manner.
Right.
So there is no application to whatever Adi Shankaracharya said. So it's a one unidirectional kind of a relationship. But this
Right.
changes very fast. Even during the life of Adi Shankaracharya, as Venkatesh mentioned just now, depending upon the circumstances, depending upon the period of relationship, you play the role of a disciple or a
Correct.
leader.
Correct.
So this
So
is one
I think
example.
Yeah,
Yeah.
there are many good examples about this, both in our in our epics and in for example history, where at different points sages or even God has been shown to be ready to be a disciple. Right, Ram and
Right.
Lakshman went to Vishwamitra for getting an education. Krishna went to Sandipani, and these are examples where literally you'll say this is God, and why does he need any education? But he goes to get educated, and that's sort of one of your early roles as a follower. This is another
Right.
example. And there are so
Right.
many other times when individual sages or learned men say, no, I've learned from another sage or another learned person, or even from my disciple, right? In
Right.
Maharashtrian lore, there is the four of them, Nivritti, Nyandev, Sopan, Muktabai. And Nyandev was the younger brother, Nivritti was the elder brother, or Balram and
Right.
Ram, right? Oh, sorry, Balram and Krishna. And you have all
Yeah.
of these situations where sometimes the person who you may think is a follower, the leader says, no, I'm ready to follow, because you are the leader in this situation. Perfect.
There is a saying in English, son is the father of man. Now,
Yes,
when the son becomes a teenager, he is
correct,
training leadership qualities and is moving away from followership qualities. It's a blend.
right,
Around the year, the clock, round the day or night, everything is in evolution.
correct,
And many times, or in fact, more often than not, the follower becomes a leader and it influences quite a lot of thinking and behavior of others.
right,
So, son is the father of man, as we say. Now, when it comes to relationship between leader and the led, Jesus Christ mentioned it in terms of a definition of a disciple. A
right.
disciple is one who is a
Who
one
abides in
second.
my word? I guess that,
Yeah,
yeah. If you abide in my word, you are my disciple.
yeah, good. Thank you. Because I have trouble reading the
Yeah, yeah,
font
I
here.
guess, yeah, yeah, correct,
So this was sort of like in Dvaita. In Dvaita, there is one God, there is one leader, and there is one follower in very clear-cut terms. There
correct,
is a
correct.
quite sharp-edged kind of a distinction. But in
Distinction, correct,
Advaita, not so. In
correct,
Advaita, there is the Shankaracharya himself came to acknowledge that his leaders, his followers possess leadership qualities and vice versa.
correct.
So and this kind of dialogue goes on. Now, this dialogue is a unique feature of father-son relationship or
Or disciple
teacher.
teacher, correct, correct,
And if you see, in the old Greek times, most of the knowledge was imparted in terms of dialogue, you
correct,
know,
correct, correct,
and very patriotic, the student or the teacher will keep moving. They
correct,
will not sit in place, they will keep on moving.
correct.
And during the movement, thoughts generate and then they mature and they lead to polished uh, disciplinary behavior. So
Discipline,
disciple is
correct.
an example. Yeah. Yeah. Any comment, Venkatesh?
Yeah, no, I think the Advaita example was a superb example because I think that that the teacher and the disciple are both forms of the Atman or Atma, and it's
Right.
only the difference in sort of the current role or previous karmas that are putting them in that role. That is all. But otherwise, actually, one is not higher, one is not lower. Is a great way for
Right.
both teacher and disciple to carry on. Yes,
Right. Which is again like aham brahmasmi and
yes,
tattvamasi. You are me, I am you. That
correct,
kind of a thing.
correct,
In terms of knowledge and wisdom, there is no personal difference between any two individuals or beings.
correct,
So this is be appreciated over a period of time. It doesn't come in early childhood or even till middle age.
correct,
You have the feeling of say, I am the boss, like there are people who keep saying, I am the boss,
correct,
and you are the servant or something. But it's not the case at all. So
correct,
Advaita is a great example. And Aristotle again has his own comment on this. He who has never learned to obey cannot be a good commander.
commander,
So
correct,
it's sort of we have already clarified this particular aspect,
correct,
and this is an ongoing thing, and it has to be appreciated again and again and again.
correct,
You have to rediscover this. Like
correct,
Venkatesh is my son, but then his role 2 years ago or even 2 days ago will be different from what it is evident right now.
correct,
So that kind of thing. Now, this it calls for a great deal of reciprocity.
Correct.
Now,
Correct.
reciprocity means I do this, I take this, and you do this, you take that, and
Correct.
let's keep changing.
Correct.
The typical peripatetic leadership of Aristotle or Greek philosophers. So
Correct.
the reciprocity is something that should not be resented.
Correct.
People feel that if you start reciprocating, your leadership strength declines. It's not
Right.
the case,
Correct.
as we will see. And
Correct.
I'll keep on seeing in our own personal life.
Correct. So I think one important point is, as we talk through this, we've been talking from both the leader's perspective and the follower's perspective. But coming back to the follower as opposed to the leader, I think one of the important things for us to realize is that unless we have learned how to submit at some level, and as we are about to talk about our ego, you are not able to get the best out of your leader or out of your teacher as well. For the teacher to know that he's playing a role is one, but the follower has to know that he has to or she has to indeed follow to get the reciprocity in some ways from the teacher. Yes, Doctor.
Right. So that is the essence of followership, which
Correct.
is less often talked about than leadership. But
Leadership.
it's very important to appreciate the existence of something called followership.
Correct.
And there again, you have to subdue your ego and
Correct.
carry, like that. So
No,
this is what
actually,
you see.
this is where we can spend a moment, Doctor, because I think, whether it is military training or it is educational training, one of the things that is underappreciated is the role in management of one's ego.
Right.
The whole notion that you learn how to do unquestioning obedience while maintaining your thinking to the point where later on you know how to use your thinking to decide whether or not to obey. It requires managing your ego. So, absolutely.
Right. So Sam Manekshaw, the great warrior,
Right.
Talk about it, his servant or chaprasi or whatever, there is a name for it.
Bara. In the military, they call it Bara or Bara. Yeah.
Something. So that early morning when he's up shaving himself, he's what? He's a leader or a follower? He may appear to be a leader, but he is a follower.
Correct.
Because he has got these good qualities of even sustaining the relationship, that is a followership.
Correct.
And that is just leadership expressed in different words.
Correct.
And this will remain so.
Correct.
This will not change. This is an everlasting equation in nature.
Correct.
And with regard to followership, there are examples and examples. Now, these Tirthankaras of Jainism.
Right.
Jainism doesn't have a god, doesn't have a single god at all. This is multiple Tirthankaras. So these are all multiple learned persons coming through various aspects of life over a period of time, sometimes going on centuries. This Tirthankara goes on up to centuries. And that embodies the very essence of studentship and followership. And that is how each draws the strength of the other, like that. Next slide, please. Now, here is a sort of a melange of qualities that are required in leadership and
followership.
Followership. So the qualities expected of a follower here are distilled in the same words as the qualities expected of a leader. You have to have empathy, you have to have understanding, you have to have active listening capabilities, and you have to have your own insight into your own personality, your own personal philosophy. So all these things are there. You can take it and put it in leadership, or you put it in followership, but these are required. And if you have this, then you have the real finer, refined qualities of a leader and follower. Next slide. You have any comments, Venkatesh?
Yeah. No, I think I really like the point you made about the fact that these qualities are, if you see them, they are equally true of the leader and equally true of the follower.
Right. Here is a classic example of a sculpture that you see. It is there in Delhi. The first time I saw a replica of what Mahatma Gandhi was doing. And he was leading, and at the same time, he was following. The leadership that they are talking about. Mahatma Gandhi could have done anything on his own without the moral support and concurrence of the followers. Like the Dandi March, Dandi Salt March, and even the Champaran Satyagraha. You know, Gandhi used to stay one step ahead, but not more. He is only step ahead. He is not one
furlong ahead. Correct.
Yeah, so the follower should not feel that he has been left to himself. The follower should be only just to the extent required to keep the momentum going. And this is where the discipline comes. The leader should not become indisciplined autocrat or a dictator or a tyrant, which happens many times. Power corrupts, they say, and absolute power corrupts absolutely. So that kind of Gandhi never did that. On the war front, again, many of the good leaders like Sam Manekshaw that we talked about, even Napoleon for that matter, they followed the same leadership, just a step ahead or not more. Because the idea is to get the best juice out of the leader and the follower both, and then blend it in such a way that the movement goes on. So this is on this near Connaught Place somewhere in Delhi. I found this fairly big representation. Very common kind of a leadership picture, if you like. And this is where the word servant leadership comes. We will look at it. In the meantime, any Venkatesh thoughts, any further thoughts on that?
Yeah, no, so I think as we are discussing, all of this is building to how followership can lead, a follower mindset can lead to leadership. I think also we continue to emphasize that without having been a disciplined follower, you can't be a disciplined leader. And we've been talking about the duality of the two roles. So I think one of the title for today is Be a Good Follower. So we are emphasizing why everybody, including the leader, needs to be a good follower. But of course, for all of us, these are key strengths we build by serving and by being followers.
Right.
Yeah. So yes, all of this comes together in servant leadership. Yes, perfect. Please go ahead.
Whether it is this fellow,
whether Gandhiji was, yes,
black leader, I forget his name.
Martin Luther King. Martin Luther King,
and there is more there. But anyway, they all led by example.
Correct.
Leadership.
Oh, you meant Nelson Mandela? Did you mean Nelson Mandela?
Mandela stayed in the prison for more than 3 decades.
Correct.
And came unscathed. And all his qualities were imparted onto his others around him. And that led to the final success of the movement that Nelson Mandela is leading. And every leader has to be a servant leader. Now, turning the point the other way, every leader has to be a servant leader, or else he is not a leader.
Correct.
Correct. This is a reciprocity condition that we talk about. Correct. If you don't exercise empathy, if you don't serve the needs of your followed, then you cease to be a good leader, and that leadership cannot sustain. A leadership that is not a servant leadership cannot sustain at all, because everything is held up in an artificial thread. And there, every moment of your life, you keep saying that I am the boss, and that will explode over a period of time, and you cannot succeed. So any leadership, any definition of any interrelationship at all is based on serving. Servant leadership. Now, this is where Swami Vivekananda said, when he had his jnana, moksha, Rama Paramahamsa said, now you have attained moksha, but you don't go and sit in a cave in the Himalayas. Correct. You help people. He said, get down from the Himalayas. And see, correct. Yeah, Atmanaha mokshartham. So you emancipate yourself. At the same time, you are doing hita to the jug. Correct. So this, as we said, this is two sides of the same coin. Correct. And servant leadership is the pinnacle of the ultimate leadership. Correct. And so forth. So in short,
this is the last slide. Yeah.
Yeah. Final word, Venkatesh.
More than a final word, I'll summarize. I think our topic was called Be a Good Follower. But through today, we have actually discussed how being a leader and being a follower are almost interchangeable. And that is the way both a leader and a follower should see it. Being a good follower does not mean being passive or not having independent thought. In fact, the best followers are those who are independent in their thinking, uh, are active, but know how to be disciplined followers. And actually, it is
Right.
that behavior that engenders or creates leaders who can be servant leaders, right? That service,
Right.
both of the follower and of the leader, comes from uh, being service oriented or being oriented towards serving. We have
Right.
examples of those who literally, like Mandela, have been in servitude, and you call it
Right.
servitude means basically literally much of their lives they were just in a follower or serving mode, but that sort of created in them the ability to attract leaders, be a leader and attract followers. So I
Right.
think for all of us as followers or building ourselves into better followers, we should realize this is our stepping stone and actually not at all far away from being a leader. You lead yourself
Right.
into being a good follower is sort of the message for today.
Right. Good.
Thank you, doctor, and look forward to the next one.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you. See you next week. Take care.
See you. See you.